For the month of March, I've been studying the incredible women of the Bible, and we are going to continue that study with Rachel. My name is Abby, and this is Webs of Faith Elevate. Just like her sister, her story takes place in Genesis. We are introduced to her just a little bit before we are introduced to Leah, but let's do a real quick recap. So Jacob is the son of Isaac, who is the son of Abraham. He's given his father's blessing, but he is told to go marry his mother's brother's, Laban's, daughter. So he heads that way, and he asks somebody where this guy is, and then he is introduced to Rachel. Rachel is with the sheep, so it's assumed that she's a shepherd or part of that service. Jacob falls in love with her, she falls in love with him. It's perfect. So he goes to her father and says, I want to marry your daughter. He's tricked into marrying the older daughter, Leah, and then for 7 years of service, and then he asks if he can marry Rachel because that's who he truly wanted for another 7 years of service. So now everybody's kind of in this really not fun situation, and it's a very tense situation where Rachel loves Jacob, Leah's forced to be with Jacob, but Leah's getting all the kids, and Rachel has none. So Rachel gets envious of this, and so she takes the situation into her own hands and gives her servant to Jacob to sleep with. This produces not one, but 2 children. And the second time the servant has a child, she says that I've been struggling with my sister and I have one. We then get to the scene where Rachel wants some of Reuben's mandrakes. Leah says, you've already taken my husband, now you're taking my son's stuff. So Rachel's like, fair enough, you can have Jacob. So she exchanges time with her husband for these mandrakes, who's also Leah's husband. Leah has more kids, and then it says sometime later that Leah has her daughter, Dinah, but after that it says, then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. And so she gave birth to a son, Joseph, and it said, God had taken away my disgrace. May the Lord add to me another son. Which he does, because she has another son, Benjamin. Just like Leah, she stays faithful to her husband, and she follows wherever he goes and whatever he does. There are a few things. Jacob and his wives flee Laban, and Rachel takes the household gods. Laban follows them and was like, you took them. And so she outsmarts her dad by saying that she's on her period, so she can't stand up. So she keeps them hidden. This causes Laban to kind of let them go, because Jacob's like, what crime did I commit? I don't have them. My wives don't have them, even though they did, but you couldn't find them. Moving on to chapter 35 in Genesis is where Rachel dies. So she's in childbirth having Benjamin, and she has a complicated childbirth, and that's where she passes away. But it says that she was dying. She named her son Ben-Oni, but his father named him Benjamin. So she died, and she was buried the way that was similar to Bethlehem, and over her tomb, Jacob set up a pillar, and that day the pillar marks Rachel's tomb. Later on, we'll see that Leah is buried in the same spot. There are a few things that we can tell from Rachel's story, and the first one is that even if situations seem perfect, they might not always be perfect. So it looked like Rachel and Jacob could have the perfect love story, but the truth is it wasn't perfect because it got changed and manipulated by people outside of them. But God can still use that situation. That's the second thing. God is always in control. No matter if you think he's working or he's not working, or you create your own destiny or your future, God is working. Through a situation full of deceit and jealousy and probably not great things, God created the 12 tribes of Israel. It also shows that God listens. Rachel took it upon herself to have her servant bore children, but that still didn't take away the pain or the hurt or the want of her own children. And God listened. God remembers. God hears. He remembered Rachel, and he remembered her wants and her desires, and he let her have a child of her own. And then she said, may the Lord bless me with another, and he did. So Rachel struggled with jealousy, but she was also cunning and smart. She struggled with letting God take control, but he still blessed her immensely because God is always in control. Next week, we're going to take it back to the New Testament to study a woman named Priscilla, who she's pretty much equal to her husband. She's got a pretty cool story. If you like this video, please hit that like and subscribe button so you're notified every time I post, and I'll see you next time.